All right, so guys, I had one of our students asked a question, and it was basically how to do the interpretation part, which is this piece here. And so before I do the interpretation part, I do want to walk you all at least through how we're coming up with these numbers here, okay? So it says you're given the sample mean and population standard deviation. Use this information to construct both 90% and 95% confidence intervals for the population mean. Interpret the results and compare the widths of the confidence intervals. And it says, if convenient, use technology to construct the confidence intervals. So guys, I'm actually going to use my calculator app to do these problems here. So, excuse me, pardon. When I look at the first part here, it says a random sample of 55 home theater systems has a mean price of 121 and a population standard deviation of 1770. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say, okay, my population standard deviation, my sigma, is 1770. My X bar, the mean price, is 121, and our sample set, excuse me, our sample set is 55. Okay, so I'm going to do this both for a 90% and a 95% confidence interval. Pardon me. So let me grab my calculator real quick. And so I'm going to go to stat, and I'm going to go to tests, and I'm going to do a Z interval, which is number 7 here. One sample Z confidence interval. Okay, so we said our standard deviation was 1770. Our X bar was 121. Our N was 55. And our confidence interval, I believe the first time we were doing a 90% confidence interval. So if you notice here, there's the lower limit and the upper limit. So the lower limit is 117 and 7 cents, and the upper limit is 124 and 93 cents. And so that's where those numbers came up with right there, right? And then we're going to do the same thing for a 95% confidence interval. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here, and I'm just going to change this 90% to a 0.95. And there it is now. So 116 and 32 cents and 125 and 68 cents. And pardon me. And if you notice, it's right here, right? Okay. So now that's how basically we came up with answering the first part. You can see it's strictly calculator work, guys. And all we're doing is really just entering this information in here. So now we're trying to figure out what's going to be my answer when I'm looking to choose for part A and part B. So if I look at interpret the results, it says with 90% confidence, it can be said that the sample mean price lies in the first interval. With 95% confidence, it can be said that the sample mean price lies in the second interval. And it says the 95% confidence interval is wider than the 90. Okay, so let's take a look at what they're referring to here. So I'm going to draw a number line, okay? And I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this one here in red. So just right here, I'm going to mark, 117 and 7 cents and 124 and 93 cents, okay? So just so that you have an idea, this is my 90% confidence interval, right? Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it in green for my 95%. So 116 is actually going to be further to the left. 116 and 32. And this one is the 125 and 68. Okay? So the red is the 90% confidence interval, and the green is the 95% confidence interval. Which one is wider? Well, the 95% confidence interval is wider than the 90%, right? So far, A looks like it's going to be my answer. When I look at choice B, it says 90%. With 90% confidence, it can be said that the population mean lies in the first interval. That is true. And 95% in the second interval, that is true. But look what it says. The 95% confidence interval is narrower than the 90. That part is not true, right? So I know that B is not my answer. Let's see. With 90%, it can be said that the population mean price lies in the first. That's true. The second is true. And it says the 90%, 95% confidence interval is wider than the 90% confidence interval. Yes. Okay, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. When I'm doing this here, I do want to select choice C because we are looking for the population mean price, okay? So the sample mean price is what we have, and we're constructing a confidence interval for the population mean price, okay? So that was my mistake here. I didn't notice that particular detail. But anyway, yes, we are going with this one here because we're looking for the confidence interval for our population mean, right? Okay, so same thing is going to happen for this problem here. We have a confidence interval, and again, the question is really how do I interpret the results? Okay, so we have a confidence interval for our population mean mu. We have a margin of error, okay? And so now we're going to interpret the results. So let's see, what kind of confidence interval are we looking at? We're looking at a 95% confidence interval, okay? And we are looking for the mean commute time, okay? So let's see. I'm going to look at my choice now. It says with 95% confidence, it can be said that the commute time is between the bounds of the interval. Remember, we're looking for the population mean, right? And that doesn't specify population mean. It just says the commute time. Let's see. It can be said that 95% of people have a commute time between the bounds of the confidence interval. Let's see. Here we go. Look at choice D. Choice D says with 95% confidence, it can be said that the population mean commute time is between the bounds of the confidence interval. So again, we're looking for that population mean, okay? Let's see. Number 3, same type of problem. It says in a survey of 2,070 adults in a recent year, 1,346 say they've made a New Year's resolution. Construct 90% and 95% confidence intervals, okay? This part here was done. All right, so it says, with the given confidence, it can be said that the, let's see, so what would we would be looking at here? We would be looking at the proportion of adults who said they have made a New Year's resolution is, and I should have looked that up real quick, guys. It's probably going to say something like within of the confidence interval. No, let me see. Sorry, guys, I should have looked that part up. You know what? Let me look at this one. Maybe this is similar. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so if you look at 26, population proportion, right, is between the endpoints of the confidence interval. And again, the 95% confidence interval is wider. Again, if you were to look at these two, right, and I were to draw a number line, okay, here's my number line. So I'm going to put 0.346, and I'm going to put 0.38, and this is our 90% confidence interval. And then if I do this one here in red, 0.342 is going to be further to the left, right? Because 2 is smaller than 6. And 0.384 is going to be to the right because I can think of the number here as 0, and 0 is smaller than 4. And this red one is my 95% confidence interval. And so therefore we say the 95% confidence interval is wider, okay? So going back to the other one, between the endpoints is what we're going to have here. And what did we say for this part was something like population proportion. Oops. So anyway, this was just to kind of clarify the whatchamacallit, how to do the interpretation part, okay? So if y'all have any questions, please let me know. You know I'm happy to help you. And I hope you all have a safe Thanksgiving, guys. Okay?